Here's a little taste of what I'm going to teach you. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. I'm gonna skip to the chorus here. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down a sunny day? What an amazing song. So perfectly crafted, some cool riffs in it. It's like the perfect song to strum and sing, except for just one little problem. Fogerty sings really high, like totally out of the range for most men. That high note that he hits in the chorus, in the original key anyway, is an A, so it's like, I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I mean, it sounds amazing when he sings it, but who can do that? I mean, besides me, of course. Most women are set, but most of us men are left out of the fun because of that key. So what I've done is change the key from C to G, which enables those of us with lower voices to sing it comfortably. Now this new key has a side benefit too. It also avoids having to play the F chord. So women or young people with higher voices still might appreciate this arrangement if the F gives you trouble. Now if you like the key of the original song, just slap a capo on the 5th fret and you're back to the key of C. If you want to sing higher than Fogerty, you can inch the capo up higher, but if things start to feel too crowded, you may just want to learn the song in C, and there are lots of videos on YouTube that will show you how to do that, minus my incredible charm, of course. In this lesson, I give you a couple strumming options based on your skill level, and in the fancy stuff section, I teach you the flourishes and riffs played in the intro of the song that you just heard. So I think this lesson will be interesting for a variety of skill levels, beginners on up. There's a link to my chord chart of this song below, and I just ask you join my mailing list in exchange. You can unsubscribe right away if you want, but most people love being on it. It's a wealth of information, so please give it a try. Anyway, you may want to print the chart out after you've downloaded it, or at least bring it up on your screen next to this video to follow along as I teach you. And if you like this lesson, there are more coming soon, so please subscribe to my channel. And if you really want to take your guitar playing to the next level, become a member of Heartwood Guitar. I guarantee you'll learn and have fun. I call it frustration-free guitar lessons. If you're getting started later in life or feel like you have no rhythm, you are very welcome and you won't get left behind. I'd love to have you as a member. Just click the link below. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the chords. This is basically a 4-chord song using E minor, C, G, and D in the key we'll be playing it in. But there's a cool bass walk down in the chorus that you can throw in if you also use 2 more chords. Those are the D with F sharp in the bass and the E minor 7. So we'll be using 6 chords total. They're all pretty easy open chords. Here's E minor. Probably know this one. You play all 6 strings on this chord. And then C. C, we just play 5 through 1, so you damp and or avoid the 6th string. I damp it with my thumb. Here's G. There are a bajillion ways to play G chord. I like this fingering just for like other songs that, like fingerstyle songs. I can reach other notes with these fingers here. Use any G voicing you like for this song. Next one is the D chord. Technically, the bass note for a D chord should be the open 4th string, so you damp or avoid the 5th and 6th strings. Most people include the open 5th string though. Works fine. And then D with F sharp in the bass, you grab a D chord and then, if you can, wrap your thumb around the top of the neck and fret the 6th string 2nd fret with your thumb. And also, if you can, damp the 5th string. It's optional, but it sounds a little better, I think, with that 5th string damped. So it sounds like that. Now, depending on your hand size and or the thickness of the neck of your guitar, you may not be able to do this, or it might be uncomfortable. So you can definitely fret this chord with just your fingers, like this, where your pointer finger's grabbing the 6th string, 2nd fret, and then 2nd finger's on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Whoops, wrong string. I never play it this way. And then 3rd finger is on the 1st string, 2nd fret, and pinky is on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Definitely works. A little bit of a handful. And then finally, E minor 7, which is just an E minor chord, but you lift your 2nd finger. It's like that. And as you'll see, when we play the song in the chorus, at least in the more advanced version, we're not going to play the 5th and 6th strings. It's just going to be 4 through 1. But if you're just strumming the chord, you can hit all 6 strings. It sounds good. Now let's get an overview of the chord progressions in the song, starting with the intro. The intro has a couple opportunities to do some cool stuff on the guitar, a flourish that starts the E minor and G chords, and a couple riffs played by the bass and piano in the original recording that totally translate to guitar. They sound awesome. So I'll teach you that stuff in the fancy stuff section toward the end of the lesson. For now, let's just get to know the intro progression, just strumming once per measure. So let's start on that E minor. And I'll count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, and then to C, 2, 3, to the G chord, and then to the D, and back to the G for 2 measures. 2, 3, 4, again, 2, 3, 4. Now let's look at the verse progression. It's simple. 4 bars of G, 2 bars of D, and 2 bars of G. And you play that progression 2 times in each of the verses. To get a sense of how the verses' guitar and vocal parts fit together, let's strum 1 strum per measure while I sing the first verse. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. 1, 2, 3, 4. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain a sunny day. I know, shining down like water. Now let's look at the chorus progression. It's trickier because of the bass walk down that's woven into the chord progression. The chords are a little weirder and the changes are faster. But try playing them with me here. I'll go slow, all right? We'll start on that C chord. Play the C and the D for a full measure to start out. 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, then D, 2, 3, and the other ones just get 2 beats each. Let's try that again. C for 4 beats, and D for 4 beats, then G for 2, D with F sharp for 2, E minor for 2, E minor 7 for 2, C for 4 beats, D for 4 beats, and G for a full 2 measures. Let's do it one more time. This time I'm gonna sing. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming day. One more G. I'm going to offer you two options for strumming the song. The first option goes down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, like that. And the second one has this cool backbeat accent. It goes down, up, 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 down, up. So let's check out the easier option first. It's just a 2-beat pattern. So if we wanted to fill a full measure, it would look like this. And it's easier to play it if you say it first. So try saying it along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, 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 down, down, up. Now let's try playing it together. Grab a G chord or just damp your strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down. Pretty simple, right? And you can play the whole song just using that pattern. Now, if you're up for a bigger challenge, this is the pattern that I hear being played by the rhythm guitar in the recording. And it actually works quite well on its own, even if you don't have a band backing you up. That's not always the case. Often we have to modify strum patterns when we're playing solo, but this one works great. This is what it sounds like. You'll notice that there are accent marks above the 2 and the 4 in this pattern. It's critical that you play these accents with this pattern. Without them, the pattern just sounds like a big muddy mess. Try saying the pattern along with me and make sure to accent the strums on the 2 and the 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, 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 down, up. Down, up, 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 down, up. We'll try strumming the pattern in a second, but first I want to show you how to accent. Accenting means playing something louder, but in practice it also means playing everything else a little quieter. So let's first practice doing all down and up strokes quietly, and we do this by gripping our pick lightly and letting it just flutter between our fingers. This is what it sounds like. It can be hard to hold on to your pick if you're not used to this. Try it with me. Now let's bring in the accent. Every second and fourth beats, we're gonna squeeze our pick to get a louder sound. Try this with me. I'm gonna do a nice slow tempo here to start. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, down, up, down, up. That can be a lot to coordinate at first, so if you're struggling, don't give up. And once you can do this, it's just a matter of speeding up the pattern and getting it deep in your bones so that you can sing over it. This is about full tempo. Someone told me long. So it's like. So that's what you're shooting for. Now let's look at strumming the chorus. As I mentioned earlier, the chorus progression is more challenging than the verse because of the bass walk down that's woven into the chord progression. But I'm going to give you an easier option and a harder option for this section. Let me start by demonstrating what each option sounds like. Here's the easier one using our down, down, up strum pattern. I'm just going to do like the first line. And here's the harder option using our harder down, down, up strum pattern with a little twist. Listen to me walk the bass in the second half of the progression. Now let me teach you the easier option. More advanced guitarists, you can just skip to the next chapter. The challenge here is to know how many down, down ups to strum for each chord. Well, that down, down up lasts for 2 beats. 1, 2, and. So we need 2 patterns to fill a measure of music, like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. That's a whole measure. So that means we'll play the pattern twice during the C chord, which lasts for just 1 measure. If you look at my chart, see that C doesn't have any number next to it. That means it lasts for 1 measure. That's like the default in my chord charts. And then we'll play the pattern twice for the D chord, because that also lasts for 1 measure. And then once for each of the rest of the chords in the chorus progression, because those each just last for half a measure. And at the very end of the chorus, we have a G chord that lasts for 2 measures, so we need to play 4 down, down ups there. Let me demonstrate the first line of the chorus, and then we'll play the whole chorus together. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and play 2 down, down ups here, 2 here, and then 1 here, 1, 1, 1. See how that works? Let's try this together. I'm gonna slow down the tempo a little bit more. We'll do the whole chorus now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down ups here. 3, 4. All right, I hope that went okay. If you're on the easier track for this song, this is all you need to know in order to play the guitar part. Just use down, down up for the whole tune. You can skip ahead to the section on singing or go straight to the performance at the end of the lesson and practice playing along with me. But if you're up for a bigger challenge and you want to bring out this walking bass line in the chorus more, I'm going to show you how to do this. And so forth. So what I'm doing here is using bass strum technique, turning our more advanced down, up strum into a bass up, down, up strum. And that bass note I'm hitting is mostly the lowest note in the chord. I say mostly because we do run into something very common when playing bass runs on the guitar. The bass line runs lower than we can go, lower than the note on the open 6th string. And so let me show you where we bump into this. So the bass line goes to that G, F sharp, E, and then boom, 1 octave lower. It wants to go down to a D, a whole step lower than this E. But we've run out of room, right? We've run out of notes. The solution is very simple. What we do is we do play a D note, but we're gonna pop up a whole octave higher and play it up on the open 4th string, and that's why we play that E minor 7 at the end of the progression. So it sounds like this: G, F sharp, E, D up there on the open 4th string, and then we end up on C again. Now, is this solution ideal? No. Is it a big deal? Not in this case. When you're accompanying your voice or someone else's, little funkinesses like popping up an octave to play that last note, they don't really matter. People are listening to your voice, and as long as the guitar part is fluid and does a good job of supporting your voice, it's all good. So let me show you how to do this. So you're going to start by playing the C chords and D chords in the chorus normally. But then when you get to the G, you're going to do a bass up, down, up. And that bass note is going to be on the 6th string, 6th string 3rd fret. So it's bass up, down, up. And then for the D with F sharp in the bass, you're going to hit the 6th string again, bass up, down, up. And E minor 6th string, bass up, down, up. And then just lift your middle finger and play the 4th string, bass up, down, up. And then I think it sounds nice to end the walk down by hitting a bass up, down, up on the C chord that follows that walk down. That way we get the G to F sharp to E to D to C. And we kind of come all the way down to a C note. Even if you've done bass drum technique before, this particular pattern can be extra challenging for people because you've got an up strum right after a bass note. And when we play bass notes, typically we play them a little differently than a strum. I mean, obviously it's different, but in particular, you move your hand kind of out away from the guitar when you play a bass note. Kind of make this like J motion or scooping motion with your pick when you hit the string. And so your hand doesn't end up in the right position to do an up strum right after it, right? You do your bass and then you have to move your hand all the way down here to hit an up strum right after it. Most bass drum patterns have a bass and then a down after them, like. It's kind of country stuff. There isn't an up right after that bass note, there's a down, and that's a lot easier. So for this pattern, what you have to learn is this new movement for playing a bass note where you do a little bit of that J or scooping motion, but then your hand comes down below the strings, bass up. And so if you're struggling with this pattern, struggling to get it to sound smooth, I would recommend isolating that single movement and going bass up, and just practice moving that pick down in time to get that up strum right after the bass note. Like that. Try speeding it up. Once you can get it about that fast, you should be able to go. Please pardon the interruption, but if you're digging this song lesson, please do me a favor and click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and if you want to dive deeper, I'd love to have you as a member of Heartwood Guitar. All right, back to the lesson. Now I want to help you with your singing, and let's start by seeing if G is a good key for your voice. The lowest note in the song is a D found on the open 4th string. So this would be like, someone told me long ago. And the highest note, if you don't count the yeah that Fogerty sings in between the double courses at the end, yeah. The highest note besides that is the open 1st string. It's an E, which is also the first note of the chorus. I wanna know. So see if you can sing both those notes. This D down here, la, and this E up here. Ah. Now men with lower voices may need to use a little oomph to hit that high E. Many women and younger people, however, will not be able to hit this low D down here. So you're gonna wanna bump the key up using a capo. For example, at capo 5, you'll be back to the original key of the song. You'll be back in the key of C using these key of G chord shapes. And those low and high notes are still on the open 4th and 6th strings. So now your low note is here. Someone told me long ago, and I wanna know. Those will be your low and high notes now. So this capo 5 position should be more comfortable for people with higher voices. If you prefer to go higher, you can keep moving the capo up, or you might want to consider learning the song using the original key of C chord shapes if things are getting too crowded up here. If you check out the chord chart, you'll notice that I've included a vocal cue. You may want to play that note and match your voice to it before you start the song if you're having trouble finding the melody. This can be especially challenging because this arrangement is in a different key than the original. you're not singing as high as Fogerty does unless you're up capo 5. So you may be remembering what the song sounds like from listening to the recording a ton, as I did like all through high school. I totally wore out my CCR tape. And so it can sometimes be a little bit of a struggle adjusting to singing these new lower notes, so that vocal cue can help. My last tip for singing the song has to do with giving as powerful a vocal performance as you can. I like to use a technique I call memory mining. It's an acting technique that helps you connect with the emotion of the song. And then when you sing the song, that emotion will come through in your singing, hopefully. There are 3 steps to this technique. First, you look at the lyrics and also think about how the music makes you feel. And you try to come up with one central core emotion of the song. This is a very personal thing, but I'll share my interpretation as just an example. The image of rain on a sunny day for me really evokes bittersweet sadness, this mix of beauty and pain. And so once you've identified this central emotion, and it may be different than mine, think of a moment in your own life that brings up that feeling. It should be something you remember well. I could have chosen many happy memories with people I love that have grown bittersweet over time because I miss those people now. But I decided to choose a memory of my old high school buddy, Shane, who's unfortunately no longer with us. He was sometimes a hard guy to be friends with, but I have this great memory from our senior year of high school of drinking beer and philosophizing with him in the Japanese tea gardens in San Francisco. So once you've identified your memory, the 3rd step is, before you sing the song, try to transport yourself back to the specific moment in that memory that really conjures the emotion. The moment you open the letter, the instant he showed you the diamond ring, whatever the memory is, and fill your senses with that memory. I'm picturing Shane and me sitting in the sunshine in a forest grove, the taste of Miller Genuine Draft, Shane laughing at something I said. And so hopefully you feel that emotion well up inside of you as you meditate on this memory. And then as you sing the song, instead of pretending to be John Fogerty singing about the breakup of CCR, it's you singing about this powerful thing that really happened to you. And if you really commit to this exercise, it will bring more emotion to your performance. Now I want to teach you a few things that you can add to your guitar part to give it a little more style. They all happen in the intro. I'm talking about the flourishes, those quick strums that introduce the E minor and G chords like this. And then the riffs that are played by the bass and the piano in the recording like this. Those riffs, by the way, are played later in the song too, at the end of each of the 3 choruses. Thankfully, you're not singing during any of this stuff, so you can put 100% of your attention into rocking your guitar part. Let's start with those flourishes. You can play them with either strum pattern, but I'm going to use the harder pattern in my examples. The tricky thing here is that normally when strumming the song, you're doing what's called subdividing by 8th notes, which means you're moving your arm in an 8th note rhythm like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Those are 8 strums per measure. That's why they're called 8th notes. If I counted each of the strums, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's one measure of music, 8 strums. But to play the flourishes, you have to momentarily speed up the subdividing so that you're subdividing by 16th notes, moving your arm twice as fast, like this. 1 eana, 2 eana, 3 eana, 4 eana. There were 16 strums there in that measure of music, hence 16th notes. Now you're only doing this for half a beat, so you've got to speed up and then almost immediately slow back down again. It's gonna feel kind of like you're a student driver in a parking lot, flooring your dad's Buick and then slamming on the brakes right after, but it'll get more natural over time. So here's the exercise for learning the flourish. First, learn to say the pattern along with me, then try playing it and rewind as much as you need. So I'm gonna count in and then just listen to me chant this, and when you can, say it along with me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. Okay, now try playing along with me. I'm gonna slow this tempo down a little bit, all right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Throwing in the accents too. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. By the way, throwing in those accents is another level of difficulty, so if that is screwing up your flourishes, just let that sit for a moment while you work on your flourishes and then bring them in later once you're good at the flourishes. Once you can play that along with me, just gradually increase your tempo until you can play it at full speed. It's something like this. Let's see here. Someone told me long. So it's like. Notice that I'm making pretty small movements when I speed up. I'm moving my arm less, using a little more wrist. You can't really move your arm super fast if it's swinging this much. So you make smaller movements and that enables you to go faster. And in the actual intro, you start the song with a flourish and then you play another one as you switch to the G chord. Your fingers should be in mid-air as you do the flourish, landing on the G chord on the final down of the down, up, down. Let me show you how that sounds. So as I'm going from C to G, I'm going down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Then I'm lifting my fingers. This is like the smooth move. If you're familiar with that term I've used in other lessons. And I'm going down, up, hitting open strings. And then on that final down of the down, up, down, I'm grabbing the G chord. So it's like open, open, G. And a little faster, it's like this. At full speed. And notice that the flourish, even though you're moving really fast, it's actually a little quieter than the other strumming. When people first learn to do the flourish, they tend to play the flourish louder than everything else because they're like, okay, gotta speed up the Buick. And then they get to that flourish and they crank down on their pick and they move super fast and it makes it louder than normal, which doesn't sound very good. So as you're refining your flourish, you want to try to get it to sound a little quieter than the other strums in the strum pattern. Now I want to teach you the two riffs played by the bass and piano in the intro. I think bass and piano are doubling up notes in that part. The first one is played over the fourth measure where you'd normally be strumming a D chord. It's also played over the very last measure of the final chorus of the song. So it's this one. We're going to start with that one. So you can see in the tabs here, the first note is on the fourth string, second fret. It's this note. And then you play an open fourth string. And you can fret both these with just your pointer finger, your first finger. And then fifth string, second fret. And then you play the note again. And then open fourth string again. And in the next measure, that bass note that starts that groove there is going to be the kind of the last note in that melody. So the whole melody goes like, but that last note is also the first note in your strum pattern. You're going to do a little bass note and then just get into your whatever groove you're strumming for that part of the song. Note on rhythm, so you can see some little eighth note rests there in the tabs. That means you're going to want to damp a lot of these notes after you play them. So check out how this sounds. See how I cut off some of those notes? So after the second note, I damp that note with my left hand. You can actually damp it just by bringing it down onto the 5th string 2nd fret, which is the next note you're going to play. If you want to go like that, or I just bring all my fingers down for a split second and then grab that note. Either way, you want to damp that note so that it lasts for an 8th note instead of a quarter note. And then this next note, the 5th string 2nd fret notes, the 3rd note in the riff, that also gets damped after just an 8th note time. So you can do that just by releasing pressure with your fretting finger. And then the next 2 notes go in quick succession. So no need to damp with those 2 notes. But after this last note, you cut that off too. So, and you can also damp that open string by resting your left hand against the strings. It's not necessary to do all this damping. You can just play it like something like that, but I think it sounds a little cooler, little snappier to play it with that rhythm. Okay, let's look at the second riff now. After you play this one in the intro, then you go. So again, we're gonna have some damping you can hear in there, but first let's just find the notes. The second one starts on the open 3rd string, and then you're gonna fret the 4th string 4th fret, and I would recommend using your ring finger, your 3rd finger for that note. And then 2nd fret 4th string, and then 2 open 4th strings. So the whole thing goes. And the damping is going to be like this. You're going to play the first 2 notes in quick succession, no damping there. But after that second note, just release pressure with your ring finger. Do the same thing on the next note. And then the open string, you're going to need to just bring your fingers down on the string, like that. And then the last note and the bass note in the next measure are going to come in quick succession, so no damping necessary there. Whole thing sounds like this. Now for picking direction, you can really just pick both these riffs with all downstrokes. There are 2 ways to go about it. You can do all downstrokes, or you can do the pick direction according to like standard alternate picking, where you're going to be picking down on the notes that are on the beat and up on the notes that are on the offbeat. I don't really think this is necessary, but it can help you keep time as you're playing the riffs by keeping your hand going in constant down-up motion in the same way that you would do when you're strumming. So you choose. If you want to do the alternate picking, want to be like down, down, up, down. That's the picking direction of that first one. And the next one is down, up, down. And what I'm doing there is just picking down on the notes that land on the beat, up on the notes that land on the offbeats. And that will keep your hand swinging in the same kind of pendulum-like motion that it swings when you're strumming. And as you bring the strumming parts and these riffs together, it all turns into this nice flow where you're going like, I'm keeping my hand going and then it's still going there. It's making smaller movements, but it's still kind of bouncing in that down up motion. And I often play that way to kind of keep in the groove, but it's not really necessary in this part. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I just want to call attention to a big challenge in playing these riffs. These riffs are fairly simple, but they're not necessarily easy to play, especially when you're strumming at full speed. I struggled a little bit learning these at first because occasionally I'd be hitting a wrong note, and it took a little practice and I got better at it. But it's hard to go from strumming with these big movements to all of a sudden hitting precisely one string on the guitar, especially if it's not the sixth string or the first string. With those strings, you can just kind of take a big swipe at the strings and you're bound to hit them. But when you're trying to hit the fourth or third string right after you're like that, it's hard to get your picking hand oriented quickly enough for it to know like where it is in space. The proprioception is difficult. And so keep in mind just a couple things. When I'm strumming this song, I'm making fairly small movements. That's both because it's kind of a fast strum, but also I want to kind of keep close to where I'm going to need to pick the riff. So, I'm not going. That would make it more difficult to hit the correct note. And then also, when I'm gearing up to play the riff, I bring my hand back a little bit and start bouncing off the bridge pins here. I start feeling the bridge pins as I'm about to play the riff, so that once I need to hit that first note, my palm is, let me do a little close up here, my palm is touching these bridge pins here. And over time, if you practice your scales and other riffs with your palm brushing against these bridge pins, eventually your hand kind of learns where it is in space at any given time, and makes it more easy to pick the right string, basically, especially when you have to switch between strumming and picking. One more thing, I forgot to tell you where to play that second riff. So you play it in the intro, obviously. It's in the very last measure of the intro, the sixth measure of the intro. It's that final measure of G before you start the first verse. And then you're also going to play it in the very last measure of your first chorus and your second chorus. There are 3 choruses in the song. The last 2 are a double chorus at the end of the song. So you're going to be playing it. Let's pretend we're finishing the first chorus. Last line here, coming down, sunny day. Here's the first measure of G, and then there was the second measure of G that I played the riff over. And then once you start strumming again, now you're in the second verse. Yesterday and days before. You also play it after the second chorus, and the second chorus is the first of 2 choruses that are doubled there at the end of the song. And there's a little quirk to this where, normally when you finish a chorus and you play this riff, the next chord that's coming up after you play the riff is a G chord, because you're singing the second verse, right? But with a double chorus, right after you play that riff, the next chord that's going to come up is a C chord, because that's the first chord in the chorus progression. So instead of playing a G note as the last note in your riff, you're going to be playing a C note, that 5th string 3rd fret note, the bass note of a C chord, so that you can do bass up, down, up, down, up, down, up, if you're doing the more advanced strum pattern. If not, you're going to be doing bass, down, up, down, down, up. Finally, I want to play the whole song for you start to finish so you can hear how all the parts fit together. I'll be using the more advanced strum pattern and I'll include all the riffs. Before I do that though, I just wanted to let you know how glad I am that I had a chance to teach you this lesson. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you're interested in more lessons like this one, members of Heartwood Guitar get access to a whole library of in-depth song lessons for popular sing-along songs, perfect for your next campfire. There's lots more to being a member, so just click the link below to see just how awesome it is to join the Heartwood Guitar family. All right, thanks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain a sunny day. I know, shining down like water. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down a sunny day? Yesterday and days before, the sun is cold, the rain is hard. I know, been that way for all my time. Till forever on it goes, through the circle fast and slow. I know, it can't stop, I wonder. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down a sunny day? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down